Hey everybody, welcome back to the Eminem Podcast. We're here with Mitch and Alex. Mitch, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, Alex. How are you, man?
Good, good. I'm excited because this is up my alley. We're going to talk film, and specifically, we're going to talk predictions. So,
Yes, this is the Oscar preview show. We'll go through a little bit on all of the Best Picture nominations and then give a few predictions because what's an Oscar preview show without predictions?
mhm. And this
Um,
is,
sorry, go ahead.
sorry, man, I was going to say this is going to be a tough one because Mitch and I have not seen all of them. So you got to bear with us. And if you have any grievances, put them in the chat. We'll check it out. But
Mhm.
there's some movies that we still haven't seen, and so we'll go through what we have and what we haven't, and
We've
we'll
seen
go.
most of them,
Mhm.
and I think we've seen the ones that are most likely to win the awards anyway, so I think we'll be all right. Um,
Mhm.
but let's start with the biggest movie of them all, in terms of commercial success and the amount of people who have actually seen this movie, and that would be Top Gun Maverick.
Mhm.
Tom Cruise reprises his role for I think it was almost 20 or almost 30 years later.
Yeah, I think it was like 86, I think was the first movie.
So yeah, over
So
30 years
wow.
later to do the sequel of Top Gun, which in itself was like a fairly iconic movie, well
Mhm.
liked. And I mean, to start this movie for me, the biggest takeaway was just it was first of all a very good movie theater experience. And my other thought about the movie was it was a perfectly executed film for what it intended, would be my kind of overall takeaway about the movie.
Yeah, I agree with that because it's like it didn't try to do more than it wanted to do. It was an action movie. It had a goal, it set. You had new characters come in, which is great. I like the new characters and how they developed them with Maverick. Uh, I always saw it as a new Star Wars trench run movie. That's what I
Mm,
saw, like the whole like A New Hope. That's it's kind of cool. But
yeah,
you're right. It didn't try to like go huge and well, in terms of practical effects, we'll get into that. But that's
yeah,
they did amazing, and that's where that really took off for me. That's what um, I loved about the movie, just the practical effects, and yeah, they didn't try to overstretch.
yeah. And I think for me, that's kind of where it maybe doesn't compare to some of the other movies nominated for Best Picture, in my opinion, just in the sense that it's pretty straightforward. Like the story arc was kind of cliche,
You can
pretty
say that.
straightforward. I think you knew where the movie was going
Mhm.
throughout, and it didn't really reinvent the wheel by any means. And there wasn't much dialogue. That was another takeaway I had. There was very little dialogue in the movie. Like I almost halfway through thought, like they've barely spoken, like like Miles Teller and Tom
Yep.
Cruise's character. And I don't know. I found that it's not typically the type of movie I enjoy, but I did like this movie. And I think it's good that there's a movie nominated for Best Picture that people have actually seen
Mhm.
because a lot of the time in recent years, it's these like really small, like independent movies, which is great that they get the recognition.
Mhm.
But also, I think if you want sort of that connection between the award, like the award show, and sort of just the regular moviegoer as opposed to like a real hardcore film person, I think it's good that a movie like Top Gun Maverick did get nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah, and rightly so. Like I said, I enjoyed it. Commercially successful across the board. But what's also I find really crazy is the movie wasn't shown in the Chinese market, and it made that much money, right?
Hmm.
Unless I'm mistaken, because I heard there was some political grievances where there was I think it was a Taiwanese patch on the back of Tom Cruise's jacket in the beginning of the scene, and
Oh,
they refused to cut it. The
hmm.
China said no, no, we don't like that, but they said no, we're going to keep that in, and that couple like 1 or 2 seconds of film could have been cut out, and they would have had it like the market overseas in
That's
China.
true
They
because
still made
you
that much
think of,
money.
yeah, it did make a ton of money, and I mean China's like the number one probably movie market.
Mhm.
Like a lot of movies, sort of action movies like Transformers, I know
Yeah,
most of like the income, like the gross sort of revenue they get is from the Chinese market. So I had no idea. That's a good point just to show how commercially successful it was, but also like it made so much money anyway, it doesn't really even seem to matter, in a
It's true.
sense.
It's just going to show that like because that movie just had more than special effects going for them, they really like I said, it had a little more heart to it than
Hmm.
because like the first movie you could see was like it had a little tongue-in-cheek 80s cheesy humor and cheesy
Hmm.
stuff to it. This one had it had a bit more weight to it, but it wasn't like so heavy where you're like, oh, this is like over the top dramatic. Like,
Yeah. I'll be honest, when I watched it, I did not think to myself, this will be nominated for Best Picture.
oh no, me neither.
Um, so for me, I would have been probably okay either way if it was nominated or not. But I do think it's good that just like a regular movie that a ton of people have seen was nominated. I think for the Oscars' sake, that's a good thing.
Mhm.
And then let's get to another movie that I think a decent amount of people have seen, but is more of it still wouldn't be considered a very Oscars-y type movie,
Mhm.
but I think it is much more likely to win a lot of the different categories, and that's Everything Everywhere All at Once. And I know
Mhm.
you were a huge fan of the film, so maybe talk us through a little bit about why you were so fond of the movie.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it because I saw it in theaters and I was completely whisked away. I know some people will check their phones and stuff in the theater and get a little distracted, you feel buzzed and stuff. I just forgot that existed. I just was immersed in the film, and the reason for that is it was a big genre blend. So I didn't know what was coming up next. It kept me on my toes. Um, and it centered around a family. It was a very like a how do I say a soulful movie. Like I said,
Yeah,
it had heart. Whereas like a lot of
agreed.
corporate stuff nowadays, all this corporate garbage has it's like a shell of like
Hmm.
those movies like back in like or even in the like early 2010s.
Hmm.
But this had like a heart to it. It had action, romance, drama. It was and it had a little bit of the fantasy element in there too, and a little sci-fi.
Yeah.
So it reminded me a lot of The Matrix in the sense of it genre blended a lot of things. Um, but overall it had me like tearing up at like 2 points in the film, and it had me laughing my ass off in like many sections of the film. So
Yeah. No,
overall it was a great experience. What did you think, Mitch?
for sure. Yeah. And for me, I thought the same thing. I thought there was like a ton of heart in this movie, even though it wasn't like meant to be this sort of like heartbreaking or heartwarming film. Because like you said, I thought of The Matrix as well.
Mhm.
Because I thought this could be almost like a modern. Now it's totally different than The Matrix, obviously.
Mhm.
Like you wouldn't say like they're super similar, but some of the concepts of it are a little bit similar. And I thought the same thing. This could be almost a modern day Matrix, except like it's more of a feel good movie,
Yeah, yeah,
than sort
it's
of
less
like a
like
thriller.
dystopian and oh
Yeah,
yeah, the threat of
dystopian's the
dystopia though.
perfect word.
Yeah.
Dystopian's a perfect word for it. Yeah. I thought it had a lot of heart and just like some nice messages in it, even though it also had just like some wild things going
Oh
on.
yeah.
The concept of the movie
Yeah.
was a little out there for me, but that's
Mhm.
my problem. That's not the film's problem. Because that's just one of those, like I'm not really like a fantasy sci-fi person, but again,
Mhm.
that's not their fault. They made a great
Yeah.
film. It's just hard for me to wrap my head around it.
Mhm.
But I still really enjoyed it, which is a testament to how good the movie was.
Mhm.
The performances were excellent. I think the performances are what made it such a heartwarming movie
100%.
because
Yeah.
I didn't think like the dialogue was very good, but there's nothing
Mhm.
in the dialogue that was like crazy or even in the plot that was that, crazy in
Yeah.
terms of really feeling it, as
Yeah.
you were watching. But my gosh, the leading actor and the leading actress, Michelle Yeoh, and I forget the leading actor's name, but they
Mhm.
both were just fantastic.
Yeah, and I remember that this is his first role after 40 years as a short round from Indiana Jones.
Hmm.
That was um I was looking up his name.
I think we're
I feel
both looking at
embarrassed not
his name at the
knowing.
same time. That's good. That's good That's good podcasting.
Here we go. So we have Kihoe Kwan. I'm so sorry if I butchered that, but yes, he's
Hmm.
Wayman Wang was the character's name. I
Hmm.
I really enjoyed his performance. He had that whimsical uh kind of attitude with
Hmm.
the uh well, again, he's playing two characters essentially, right? So
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, like when he was like kind of the regular real life, if you will, person,
Yeah.
like just so lovable, like he was so nice, but then you saw how kind he was, and then also how heartbreaking it was because he was kind of, struggling, like the relationship was kind of
Mhm.
crumbling. And Michelle Yeoh, oh my gosh, like it was such
Mhm.
a like deep, like a performance that just had such depth, I felt like, because at some points I didn't like her, at other points I was like, I really liked her, and it was like scary, and it was a movie that really played on different emotions, and I think that's one of the harder things to do when making a film. So, like I said, even though the concept was a little bit out there, I sometimes struggle to understand what was going on all the time.
Mm.
Um, but still, like it made me feel, and I think that's kind of the
Mhm.
best thing that a movie can do. So,
Yeah, it had everything
mhm.
everywhere, you know?
Yeah, I swear to
Everything
God,
everywhere.
yeah, I was literally thinking that though, like in the first 40 minutes of the movie, I was like, oh my
Mm.
God, like the title is accurate. Like
Yeah.
there is a lot going on and I don't understand half of it.
And
But
what's cool though is when you said, there's some things that you didn't, enjoy about the film, or some things that you said it was, like, not your kind of
well, I
style?
wouldn't even
Yeah.
blame the film itself. It's more just like some of the concepts were a little bit out
Mhm.
there for me as someone who doesn't appreciate fantasy and sci-fi like I should. Um, but overall, I still really like the movie. You know.
Yeah, I was gonna say overall, there's always some in this movie. There's something for everybody, and that's the thing, which I found because I talked. Everybody I've talked about this film, they've really enjoyed it because there was something for everybody you could pull, and that's why I love about
Mhm.
genre blending. And and the way they pulled it off, just seamlessly and all together, that's just a
Mhm.
testament to the directing and
Yeah.
cinematography and the acting. Oh my god,
Oh,
the acting.
the
So
acting was
we'll get into
incredible.
that, but
It's so amazing because, like, again, like I think Michelle Yeoh is probably the biggest. Well, Jamie Lee Curtis,
mhm,
would probably be the biggest name, but like, it wasn't just this like A-list cast, and I think that just goes to show that ultimately, like, there's a lot of talented actors out there, and if you have a great script and you have the ability to find people who are suited for that role, you don't need a movie with Brad Pitt, Leo DiCaprio, Margot Robbie. Like they're all great
exactly.
actors, but you don't need them to make a fantastic movie.
No. Mm-mm.
So I think that's kind of a good, almost a good message for from an actor's perspective to be like, hey, you know, we're capable of doing this too, and you don't have to spend $15 million or whatever,
Yeah.
right? Like, and still get, you know, like a really heartfelt performance.
Mhm.
So I guess we could move on because we can always circle back when we go through our predictions for the awards. But I guess we can move on to another big movie that was nominated for Best Picture. This one is one of the more controversial ones that was nominated for Best Picture, I would say. But again, it's one of those movies that a lot of people did watch, which is
Mhm.
good. That there are some Best Picture nominees that were watched by sort of just the regular person, and that would be Elvis. Obviously, and
Elvis.
it's
Mhm.
kind of a it's kind of a good movie for us because we like music and movies.
Oh, yeah.
I think I liked it more than most because, like I said, how I'm not a huge fan of sci-fi and fantasy movies. I am a sucker for biopics and
Mhm.
particularly music biopics.
Mhm.
So they had me right away. Like, before the movie even started, I was like, I'm in, just because I
Yeah.
love those biopic movies and I love music. And when you combine it all, I really enjoy it. But I definitely understand some of the critiques of the movie. But
Mhm.
let's start with some of the good things. I think pretty much everyone would agree Austin Butler was really great as
Mhm.
Elvis. Most people would say he definitely deserved his nomination for Best
Mhm.
Actor. And I guess we could start there. I know you haven't seen the movie in a while because it came out a long time ago. I
Yeah.
haven't
Mhm.
seen it in a couple months either. But do you remember kind of what about the performance sort of captured your interest?
It was his total immersion in the role and commitment, which I he definitely deserves a nomination for Best Actor, for sure. In terms of Best Picture, I'm kinda surprised it got nominated, to be
Yeah.
honest, because it was an enjoyable movie. Like, well, content-wise, it was like it got darker and it was sad, actually, honestly, seeing the fall of Elvis. But
Mhm.
I love Elvis, as an artist. I am a huge fan. I grew up, my grandma loves Elvis. She exposed me to that, and same with my parents. And I love his music. So seeing like his origins and how he got discovered and everything, it was really cool. And
Mhm.
I just enjoyed how he immersed himself. It was almost like 2 year, like a year and a half,
I think it was like
like
3 years
3 years
because
in the
it started
making,
before
man.
COVID and then they had to delay it and then they
Mhm.
started filming. So he definitely dedicated himself, which on the one hand is impressive. On the other hand, I think he went to the hospital a couple times because like his body was breaking down. And that's when it's
Mhm.
like
You're like, okay,
you almost get into like Heath Ledger territory where it's like you know, art is important. You understand and respect the dedication to someone's craft, but it shouldn't really be like taking away from your health,
Yeah,
you
you
know?
shouldn't be risking your life like
For a
that
role.
far for a role. And I just what I really enjoyed about his performance is he showed the ups and downs of Elvis. And so when we talk
Mhm.
about best actor, that's what I'm going to play into as well because he showed just the ups and downs of his life, but also just the voice. He was in
Mhm.
character for 3 years. You can't to this
Yeah.
day, like in interviews, he still has that like
Yeah.
Memphis, that southern accent in there. He's
Mhm.
Australian. He's Australian, and he sounds like
No,
Elvis still,
I think
right?
he's American. I think he's American. I think
No, I
maybe
thought he
he's
was
from
Australian.
Australia.
Yeah.
No, because he was in like Family Channel movie, like Disney movies. Like he's definitely American.
Oh, he's
Maybe he was
American. Okay. Yeah.
um and so
I
yeah,
misspoke.
yeah. No, but yeah, he did great. And I also think part of why I was impressed with it so much is that's such a tough character to perform as, just because he's first obviously like an icon, like him or not, you know Elvis, you know his moves, you know his some of his songs, right?
Mhm.
And there's been so many impersonators. There's been other movies throughout the years on Elvis. I haven't seen them, but there have been other actors who've taken on the role. So I think it was a very difficult one to hit, and he did a great job.
Mhm.
Um, the movie itself, I enjoyed quite a bit. Again, I'm a sucker for like music biopics, and I found it
Mhm.
entertaining. The longer time went on, the more I thought that was nominated for Best Picture.
Mhm.
And one of the things I'll be honest about, I like Tom Hanks.
I knew
I
you'd say
thought that
that.
might have
Yeah.
been the worst performance I've ever seen from him.
I think it was just is the wrong casting choice.
Yeah.
Definitely wrong casting choice. He did what he could with the script, and I just poor Tom, man, because I think that was the worst performance. I love Tom Hanks, one of my favorite actors.
Yeah.
He was set up for failure in that, but also it's just it wasn't the right fit. So
Mhm.
that's
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, the biggest part of it was just like the accent was a bit goofy. And who
That
knows
suit
what
too
Colonel
was
Tom Parker,
yeah.
like I haven't seen any interviews of him. I don't know how he sounded, but it just wasn't convincing. The
Yeah, like
voice was
yeah.
not convincing whatsoever.
Yeah, I saw Tom Hanks. I did not see the other
Mhm.
character, right? That's is that what you kind of
And his
saw? Like,
voice too. I feel the same way about his voice, where it's like
mm.
he's trying this weird accent, but all you hear is Tom Hanks with talking with this like goofy. I think he was from like the Netherlands or something. Colonel Tom Parker.
Yeah, he was supposed
He
to be.
has quite
Yeah.
an interesting story, by the way. Like
Mm.
his background and everything. And the content of the movie, again, it was very entertaining, but it took like a lot of liberties with certain things.
Mm.
Was not very accurate in any way. But the thing I would say that probably got it its nomination and the best part of the films were the performance scenes were fantastic.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
some of the best movie music performing scenes of all time. And I've heard other like sort of pundits and like film critics say they did not enjoy the movie at all, except for when he was performing.
Mm.
Because Baz Luhrmann, who was the director, who's directed he directed Great Gatsby. He's directed other movies.
Mhm.
He's kind of known for sort of smoke and mirrors sort of thing, like montages and like very glitzy, glamour type sort of filmmaking, as opposed to like a raw, gritty filmmaker like Fincher or something.
Okay.
And that definitely came through in this movie. But yeah, his performance scenes, like I'm not a technical person in terms of film, like I don't know, but some of the camera work and just I don't know, it was incredibly captivating for
Yeah,
sure.
like in terms of the performance scenes, you're right. The whole like the camera work there and the performance was amazing. The moves, the voice, everything coming together was phenomenal. I loved it. But nothing else really stood out to me in terms of cinematography, except you said the montages. That's a good one.
Yeah,
They had good transitioning shots and montages, and that's where I'm like, oh, that's interesting. But
yeah.
it was never like, whoa, like the film,
Mhm.
like the cinematography was astounding. So,
Yeah, and I like the soundtrack. Um,
mm,
I think I think the takeaways from this film: Austin Butler performance really good, performance scenes really good.
mm,
Tom Hanks, yikes, and the content of the film outside of the performances was okay.
mm,
And you could definitely argue whether or not it should have gotten an Oscar nomination. But we'll leave that to the Academy.
mm,
but still an interesting movie. I enjoyed it. Again, I love my music biopics, but I
Yeah.
definitely understand the critiques of people who are like, "How the hell was this nominated?" You know, like
Oh,
if you aren't
100%.
like
Yeah.
if you
Mhm.
aren't a big music biopic fan or you're not a big Elvis fan, I don't know how much I'd care for the movie.
Yeah.
You know,
And it didn't make it wasn't super commercially successful either. Like it was
well, I think
close
for a
on the cusp,
non
I
like,
think.
I think for like a non superhero movie or like like those just gargantuan movies,
Yeah.
I think it did pretty well. I can look it up.
But I'm saying like I think it just made its money back or something like that.
That is possible because here I'm
Mhm.
looking at it right now. So it made 287 million. I
How
don't know
much
what the I don't know what the budget was.
you can probably just look up Elvis budget.
Hmm.
85 million. Wow.
So they made 200 million off it.
So they
That's quite good, I would say.
it's good, but you gotta double the cost for marketing. So what is that?
It made 100 million.
Yeah. So you gotta
I would
make
say that's still pretty good.
that's still very good for that because when it first came out, it was very like it was on the it didn't have a great box office weekend, right? So everyone was
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh, is this gonna fail?" And I was like, "That was an enjoyable movie. Like, why is it gonna fail?" But the
Mm-hmm.
rule of thumb is movies have to make about 2.8 times their money back
Mm,
to make a profit, like to be considered successful. It
yeah.
has to make double the money to break marketing costs. So
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, so let's go on to another of the Best Picture nominations, The Whale.
the whale.
Brandon Fraser's comeback.
Mhm.
A very sad movie. Been some mixed reviews on the movie itself. I think Brendan
Mhm.
Fraser performance has been very lauded.
Mhm.
But yeah, why don't you go into you've seen the film, so give us some of your thoughts.
Yeah, so I meant to watch a couple days ago, but I watched it last night. And again, wow, it's a slow burn of a movie, but it captivated me. Like it was phone down. I was watching the film and Sadie Sink, she starred in as well, and that was a nice surprise. I didn't know she was in it. She was the
Hmm.
she played
From
Max in
Stranger
Stranger
Things.
Things. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And just again, a very like sad movie of a man facing his mortality. Like he's morbidly obese man. He's stuck in the house. Um, the couple people that are in his life that are taking care of him, he keeps apologizing. I'm sorry, but he's not taking the steps to take care of himself or do what needs to be done or help himself out of his depression. His friends are there trying to help him, but he's refusing their help. It's a very heartbreaking movie, but his performance, like you said, his comeback after how many years? Like
Yeah, like
very,
at least
very
a
good.
decade, I think, almost.
Yeah, and and I think Brendan Fraser himself struggled with weight as well. So it was a
Hmm.
very like it was like close to him, and that's probably why he took on the role. But in terms of the nominations, he definitely deserves a nomination for Best Actor, and I
Hmm.
think Best Original Screenplay. I think
Interesting.
yeah, because I think it was a play before, but the person who wrote the play also did the screenplay. But I'm gonna see just a quick thing to go on a little tangent. Best Original Screenplay.
Hmm.
It's not nominated.
Oof.
Ooh, I'm so wrong, but I think it should be.
Well, I
But
think the trouble is, because we've seen most of the Best Picture nominees, but when you get into the subcategories, you get other movies in it. So, like the Best
yeah,
Actor, there's movies that aren't nominated but have a Best Actor nominee. Same with Best Actress, supporting, all of that, screenplay, cinematography.
mhm,
So we didn't see all the movies that were nominated for any Oscar this year. We wanted to focus on the Best Picture nominees,
mhm,
and yeah, like you mentioned, obviously the Whale. See that Brandon Fraser, that seems like the best possibility for an award for the Whale would be Best Actor for Brandon
mhm,
Fraser, and that would be really nice for him to come back. He went through obviously some difficult times, was kind of blackballed, it seemed a little bit by the industry.
mhm.
So it would be nice for him to win that award. And either way, just to get nominated, that's really the award
Oh,
that just
yeah.
shows what a performance you gave and gives you that recognition. Was there anything else you wanted to mention from the Whale?
I just think that you would really enjoy the film in the sense of it's just dialogue heavy in a few locations. So it really shows like it's a character driven piece. There's no effects or anything at all. Like, and that's a low budget film. It was an
Mm-hmm.
A24 production, who's is the same film studio that did Everything Everywhere All at Once,
Okay.
and they've done a bunch of numbers.
Wow, that
Minari was
studio's
another one.
happy.
Yeah, and again low budget film, but there's so much you can do with just proper dialogue and proper acting. So that's why I think
Hmm.
you'd really enjoy it.
Yeah, I think the script always wins out, and then you combine the script with good performance, and you're gonna have a really good movie.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, let's go to another of the Best Picture nominees, The Banshees of Inisherin. And
Hmm.
you haven't seen this one, I have, so I'll kind of take the lead on this
Yeah,
one. But
you gotta tell me what's about. Tell me what's going on.
it's I guess it's a period piece. It takes place in like the 1920s. This little island off the coast of Ireland, and it's a
Mhm.
tiny town. Like pretty much, it's one of those like situations back in the day where like everyone has a different job, sort of thing. Everyone knows each other, and like for me, I don't want to spoil it, but this was one of my favorite movies I've seen
Mhm.
in this Oscar window, and there's so much to touch on. I think part of the reason why it hasn't been fully embraced by everyone, even though it is definitely critically acclaimed, and I looked at the betting odds for Best Picture, and I think it was like fourth. So that's
Wow.
nothing to sneeze at.
Mhm.
Third or fourth, I don't remember. But I think part of why it hasn't been embraced by everyone is I think the deeper meaning of the movie isn't kind of as known to a lot of people.
Mhm.
They just see like what's on the surface, and understandably so. Like not everyone's going to have some background in like Irish Civil War history, right? Like
Fair
so
enough.
they
Yeah.
just see the movie itself, and you just see the dynamic between these two guys, and they've been best friends for life pretty much. And then one day all of a sudden this guy goes to hang out with his best friend, and the best friend's gone. Then he's ignoring him. He's like, what are you doing? And he's like, the one friend, call him. I just want to make sure I get all the names right. Call him.
Mhm.
Basically said, I want to pursue, like, I want to be remembered. And he wants to be, like, just fully go for it as a fiddle player and composer.
Mhm.
And he said, I can't spend time basically BSing with you in a bar anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And this
Sorry,
other
sorry. Someone
character,
keep going, keep going. Yeah.
yeah. And then the other character, Colin Farrell, it's like Padraig or Parig. It's like very Irish, like it's
Mhm.
Gaelic,
A
some of the
Gaelic name.
names.
Yeah. Yep.
So like Parig, Colin Farrell's character is like the nicest guy ever. He's just like, what? And then he keeps like trying to convince him to kind of be friends again and hang out and that. And Colin Brennan Gleeson's character says, if you keep bothering me, every time you bother me, I'm going to cut off one of my fingers.
This is what I heard about the movie. I've heard
Yeah.
one set like yesterday. I heard someone. I had a little conversation about it briefly, and he said it's a very strange movie. A guy dumps his best friend and tries to cut his fingers off, and that's all I know
Mhm.
about the movie. So sorry, keep going.
And
That's all I
so
know.
he eventually he does cut
Mhm.
off a finger when Colin Farrell keeps bothering him. And there's other things going on. There's other characters. Parig lives with his sister, who's clearly doesn't feel fulfilled. She eventually goes to the mainland, like Ireland, for kind of more prospects in life.
Mhm.
And then there's another character, Dominic, played by Barry Keoghan. I'm not exactly sure Irish name. People know who I'm talking about. He's going to play the Joker in the next Batman movie. He was in that final scene with the Riddler in Arkham. But anyway,
Okay, yeah.
he was fantastic. He professed his love for Parig's sister, and then she ended up leaving. Like she turned him down. It wasn't didn't seem a big deal, but he had a very abusive father. I don't need to get into all the details, but it's quite a sad movie. But there is comedic relief throughout, and I think the biggest thing, and then sort of the end, the guy cuts off every finger on his hand, and each time he does it, he throws them at Colin Farrell's house. And
Oh.
Colin Farrell's like a farmer, kind of, or like a rancher sort of thing.
Mhm.
And his best friend is his little donkey, and you see it throughout. It's kind of funny and cute. Like his
Mhm.
best friend, like he keeps it in the house even though sister hates it, and so the donkey's basically his best friend, other
Mhm.
than Colin, who is cutting off his finger every time he talks to him, right?
Jeez.
Um, so this donkey's pretty much all he has, and the fingers are like on the ground in front of his house, and the donkey you see
Donkey
goes over to
eats it.
like eat them, and then the
Oh.
donkey dies.
Oh.
And
Shit.
Colin Farrell, excuse me,
Yeah.
is devastated. And then he tells the guy, I'm gonna burn your house down like at 10 a.m. the next day or whatever. So it seems very dramatic and out there as a movie. And I think people like kind of just look at it on that surface level, and they don't realize like in the background throughout the movie is the Civil War. and they mention it a couple times. And I think it's not just me, like a ton of people have said this, that part of the story is that the two characters represent the two groups of people in Ireland at that time and
Oh.
throughout the 20th century, where like it represents the conflict in the sense that like they're fighting, and on the one hand there's some merit to it, why they're arguing, because one just wants to be ignored and focus on his career and wants to be remembered. The other one's like, we've been best friends for so long. Why aren't we still together, basically?
Yeah. Also good allegory for that. Yeah.
And then, so on the one hand, it makes sense. There's merit. On the other hand, it seems very fleeting. Yet and at the same time, they're basically brothers and they're just hurting each other. For what? Right.
And that's the Civil War.
And and you can say both sides have some of their fault. We're not going to go into obviously the troubles in Ireland and like pick a side by any means.
We'll do another episode about that. It's fine.
Yeah. But I think that's where a lot of people missed the plot a little bit, or some of the subliminal messaging of the movie, where like people from North America who are, and again, how could you expect people who aren't Irish to know anything much about Irish history and make that connection? So some people just see it and think, oh, he's just cutting off his finger and what the hell? But it's really just, I highly recommend it. And I recommend maybe reading afterwards some of like the commentary on the movie to help put some of the threads together to make it make more sense. But the bottom line to me, and I think this is undeniable, the four main performances, Colin Farrell, Brendan Gleeson, Barry Keoghan, and Kerry Condon, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And the cinematography is unbelievable. I guarantee you that movie has led to a spike in like people from other countries visiting, like tourism in Ireland, because the cinematography in that movie is absolutely incredible. The cast are all Irish, and the biggest thing is like Irish people, for the most part, from what I've seen, absolutely adore the film. And that's really who it's for, is for Irish people and like the experience. And so that's part of it to me, why I think it wasn't fully, like, I think it should have been best pick. Like, we'll get to our best picture vote, but I think that might be part of it, is like people don't relate or don't have that understanding of the experience of Irish people, you know, in that sense, which is totally understandable. So
so the film appealed to them, and they enjoyed it. So there you go.
And like, if you're familiar with the history, you'll like it even more. And even if you aren't, I think there's still stuff in it that makes it worthwhile to watch. But yeah, and let's get to kind of another period piece from not far off, the 1920s, which would be All Quiet on the Western Front. That's a World War I film.
Right? Yeah, World War I. So,
and it was a book, actually.
Yeah, it was a book written. Actually, it was written at a very controversial time, because I know like World War I ended 1918, and the book was written. I want to say in the early 30s, early 30s or late 20s, when like the war was still like, you know, the war wounds were still fresh in Germany. Because anyone who hasn't seen it yet, All Quiet on the Western Front is a true story of a man who fought for Germany in World War I on the front lines. So what the film was very so it was very like anti-war at the time. Sorry, the book, when it was written in that time, was very anti-war. And whereas at the time, where people, they were justified being like, oh, you know, we're going to war, we're fighting for our country. And so at that time they lost, but the country still believed, and, you know, they were still like, we needed to fight. And so at the time he was showing the horrors of war, saying this is bad, like we're getting slaughtered, and we're slaughtering our opponents for what, right? So it was one of those very anti-war books that has been adapted to a movie in the 70s, and then now it's been adapted now. But a little side note, I know it was really cool, because in the book I didn't read it, my one of my best friends did, and saying that he referred to the English as lions, and so like the heart of the lions, saying like he respected his enemies so much that he said they fought with such fierce determination that called them the lions throughout the book, which was it's kind of a cool note. But overall, practical effects were amazing. Very gritty, like, depiction of war, which is what they went for, right? And it was uh long lingering shots on the dead, on like open landscapes. Very beautiful film in the like
Yeah,
visually. But
yeah. And that's, I believe, the second favorite to win Best Picture after Everything Everywhere All at Once. So
mhm,
clearly I didn't see it, but clearly it had a lot of things going for it. My only note would just be, I guess for me, I'm not the biggest fan of war movies, like that genre.
mhm, yeah,
Not because like I'm against showing war, like because a lot of the time war movies are actually pretty anti-war, which I
mhm.
feel like kind of everyone should be. Like who's in favor of people killing each other over like politics, basically,
Yeah,
like
it's
for the
just showing
most
like
part.
I feel a lot of war movies now are like showing the horror of war, right?
Yeah.
Showing what is, and that's the humanity aspect that we enjoy about
Mhm.
films, right? It's showing like the
Yeah.
real stuff. Whereas like you read in
Mhm.
books, yeah, yes, so but you get the real grit. So
Yeah. So I guess like for war movies for me, my only thing was just like I feel like a lot of them they're obviously different, but I find that it's so similar much of the time that it's hard for me to really kind of appreciate them as much as a different movie because like especially like you think like World War I, World War II, like the Vietnam War, there've been so many movies made about it,
mhm,
right?
yeah.
That sometimes it's difficult to decipher. But I haven't seen this movie, so I don't have an opinion on that. I just had a little thing
Mhm.
on like war movies in general, where like we all have our own favorites and our own choice, like our own like biases and favorite genre. Like I mentioned, music biopics are like I love them. Like in terms of just like lovable, I'll always watch.
Yeah,
Those are kind of the ones for me. Sorry
yeah,
about that.
and I love the war film. Like I Saving Private Ryan, Quite the
Yeah,
Western Front. Like I love those movies. So
Dunkirk. Yeah,
yeah,
and a lot of
Dunkirk.
people
Yeah,
do.
yeah,
Like it's not
yeah.
like I'm not speaking for everyone by any means, but that was just like
Mhm,
my own little opinion. And then let's finish off the ones that we have seen of the Best Picture nominations.
mhm,
This is one I've seen, which is Women Talking.
mhm,
And first of all, it was a very good movie. It was a movie that I respect tremendously because it's the style of filmmaking I enjoy, which is, again, like we keep talking about, or I keep talking about at least,
mhm.
where I just love dialogue and I love performance. And that's what you got in this movie, where
Mhm.
there is no bells and whistles, there's no smoke and mirrors, there's no
Yeah.
effects. The whole movie almost takes place like in one barn on this colony. It's said in the movie that I believe they said they were doing the 2010 census. But the colony, it's basically a cult, pretty much,
Oh,
or
interesting.
like this
Yeah.
extreme different way of living, basically, like religious cult. It's a religious cult,
Mhm,
basically, like what we know of them. And basically, these women, obviously for generations, have been like drugged and like sexually assaulted and beaten and like just treated horribly,
yeah.
right? And then it basically gets to a boiling point where they have to decide because some of the men have been arrested, um, where they have to decide whether to stay stay and fight so they can stay on the colony, but they have to like basically get rid of these bad men like who are hurting them, or leave is pretty much the decision. And it's a little bit like it's not like 12 Angry Men, but just in the sense they're all in this room and they're all trying to come to the conclusion for everyone, even though people have different perspectives, right? Because some of the
Mhm.
women, like different generate, you have like 3 or 4 different generations of women and girls in
Oh,
this room.
that's good perspective too, actually. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, as well as like one guy who's helping them because like I think a lot of the I think part of it was that like I don't think the women could read or write maybe.
Mhm.
And that's sort of part of it. It's just they've been so like exploited and just not treated as equal, right? Like
What was the setting? You said, sorry to interrupt,
it's in the
2010s?
US. It's in the US.
So set in
It's like a
2010s US.
farm. But it doesn't feel like that. It might as well be the 1700s on that colony. Like there's no
Uh,
electricity, there's no anything.
so completely isolated from the
Um,
world. Okay, sorry. I'm full
yeah,
disclosure to the viewers. I haven't seen the film yet, so this.
yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Mitch. Yeah.
Yeah, all good. And then there's like one guy who did go to university who's helping them, who's like a really good guy. And it's definitely like a feminist movie. Like there's themes in the movie
Mhm,
where even though they're showing like an extreme version, you could tell there are moments where it's like, okay, they're definitely doing a commentary on things that happen now
mhm,
for similar issues. Even though we're definitely in a better place than that movie,
mhm,
there were still sort of things that carried over. So I think it was worthy of an Oscar nomination.
mhm,
I liked the film. Dialogue great, performances great. I think some of the critiques, and I would have the same, where that it was a bit dry and a bit boring. And I kind of feel bad saying that as a guy, because it's like, this is like a feminist movie. It's all like, I'm not trying, like, I like the
Gentlemen.
movie. I like the movie.
Yeah.
I just think there wasn't like these big moments. Like there weren't really memorable moments in the movie.
Mhm.
And that was kind of the one thing that held it back. But I still think it was worthy of an Oscar nomination.
Mhm.
Glad I watched it. And overall, a good movie. I liked it better than some of the other ones. Like it was better than Elvis.
Okay,
I haven't seen Avatar, but it was better than Avatar.
yeah. Avatar.
And yeah, that's probably a good
Yeah.
transition. But overall, Women Talking, good movie. I liked it.
Yeah.
Worthy of the Best Picture nomination. So the last three movies we didn't see that were nominated for Best Picture. One of them I was supposed to see. That was on me. I just couldn't find it, even though we only use reputable sources to find our movies. But
Yeah.
I couldn't find it anywhere.
Mhm.
And I didn't want to buy it. I didn't it didn't even cross my mind to buy it, but I found out you bought The Whale, so I felt bad
Mhm.
about that.
Yeah, sorry. Mhm.
But yeah, so I wanted to see Tar. Kate Blanchett's a terrific actor. By all accounts, she'll be well in the running for Best Actress.
Mhm.
So I wish I had seen it. It sounded like a movie I would enjoy, and I'd like to see it once it comes out, maybe on a streaming service.
Mhm.
But yeah, unfortunately, we can't give much insight for that. The other movie we didn't see was Triangle of Sadness. I'm not sure how that slipped through the
Mhm.
cracks. I don't know much about the film, I'll be
So
honest.
let me look up the synopsis because I could not
But
tell you
the other
what
thing
it is.
too, we were a bit strategic with the movies we didn't see,
Mhm.
because like Triangle of Sadness is not going to win Best Picture, and probably not going to win many of the major categories, if any. Um, so yeah, we just felt like, because we're busy, we couldn't see all of them. So that was when we missed. And then the last movie we did not see, which we did intentionally, was Avatar. Is it The Way of Water? Like, it costs like 3 billion to make. I'm sure the CGI and the effects are fantastic.
Mhm.
Well done. You spent $3 billion. I would hope it would be really good. Because if
Mhm.
not, what was the point?
And
I've heard.
yeah.
Go ahead, yeah.
Oh no, no, sorry. Go ahead. I interrupted you.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, and I've heard like the plot is extremely straightforward. Wasn't as good as the
Mhm.
first one. Kind of cheesy dialogue, which, I mean, of course, that's what it is. Like,
Mhm.
that's not what the movie's made for. It's not like The Social Network or something where there's 1,000 words
Mhm.
a minute. So yeah, I just didn't really think we needed to watch it. Maybe we should
Mhm.
eventually, but I think it's one of those where people were probably like, really, that got nominated for Best Picture? But I think it's because of the cinematography and the
Mhm.
effects.
And yeah, my hot take on it is I'm gonna get I do get ridiculed for this is I when I saw the first Avatar movie, I enjoyed it. I was 9 years old when I saw it. The
Mm-hmm.
effects were great. This was the 3D era craze, if everybody remembers that. Mitch, you remember the
Mm-hmm.
3D era craze?
Yeah.
Glasses on, there. I enjoyed the experience. But then I tried to rewatch it again. Like I was gonna rewatch Avatar 1 before I saw The Way of Water. I couldn't bring myself to watch it. Like I was watched the first like couple minutes of it and I was like, I know what's gonna happen. I don't like I remember everything because it's such a basic plot. And I'm sorry to
Mm-hmm.
say, like, I love James Cameron. We got to support our Canadian directors here.
Is
But
he Canadian? I didn't
yeah,
even
yeah,
know
he's
that.
Canadian. Yeah,
Ah.
he's from Ontario, I think. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
entirely sure where, but yeah, Canadian director. And he sorry, it's a lot of bread and circuses for me with all like the flashy stuff, and it's well, how I see it is like the visuals is more like an appetizer, right? I'm not
Mm-hmm.
there like oh, I'm there to be sustained. I want a meal. I want like substance in my films. So I just leave the theater feeling empty, like I'm still hungry, I wanted more. And that's the best way I could describe it. So I couldn't bring myself to go to see Avatar 2. Like my friends like Al, he's been on the podcast before. I told him I'd see it. I haven't seen it yet. And he just jokingly said, "You haven't seen it yet?" And he was kind of saying, "Dude, you got to go see it." But
Mm-hmm.
then he said, "See it in theaters before it's gone."
Yeah.
And in my opinion, a good movie, you can watch it wherever, regardless. You don't need the theater atmosphere to make it
Mm-hmm.
good. So
I
that's my opinion.
agree. I
Yeah.
agree. I do think theater is always better, but I
Mhm.
do
Yeah.
agree that if it's only good in theater, or it's a huge drop off, that says something about the, or maybe it's just that it's a type of film. So maybe we just don't appreciate sort of those big budget action movies like we should. But
True, it wouldn't appeal to me, I guess, as much.
yeah,
So
I'm okay with, having our own preference for that. We're much more fans of like kind of the script and the writing and that. So let's do some predictions. Let's go with, we'll just do three of the kind of the big ones: best actor, actress, and best picture. We'll start with you, Alex. Who do you have winning, or who do you think should win best picture?
for best picture,
Or sorry, best picture, best actor.
best
What am I
actor.
doing? What am I
was like,
doing?
ooh,
Best picture at the
okay.
end. God,
So you
best
gotta
actor.
leave that in.
Cut that part.
Best,
We'll leave it in.
part.
We'll leave it in.
Best actor. Again, I want my opinion. Who I think should win is different than who I think is going to win. I think Austin Butler should win, and I'm going to say that because, like I said, he really embodied the ups and downs of Elvis. The voice, the commitment for 3 years. He was Elvis. Like that's how I picture him. It was beautiful, and just the film, his whole story that people have not heard a lot about, and just kind of helped not revitalize his career, but I really enjoyed his portrayal, and it was really raw. Whereas I think who is going to win, from what I've seen here, is Brendan Fraser, because again, amazing performance. Like I said to Mitch earlier before we started recording, was it's more of a coin toss for me, which I think was going to win. But Brendan Fraser, I think, because Hollywood really likes to gear towards the really intense dramas. I think Brendan Fraser, that was the performance that's like super dramatic, and he did amazing, and I think he's going to win. So
yeah, for me, for my best actor, I liked Austin Butler's portrayal of Elvis as well. He's definitely one of the favorites. For me, I would go Colin Farrell. I thought it was probably the best performance of his career. He's having kind of a nice resurgence as an actor, and I just thought there's nothing about it that like particularly stands out in a sense, which could be like, well, then why are you picking it? But I just thought overall he was just so believable. Like I believe him. Like I believe that's what he was. Like he changed his appearance a little bit. Like he probably gained like a little bit of weight. His hair wasn't as good as it normally would be. So you didn't see him as like this heartthrob, like super good looking leading man. You just saw him as sort of this regular guy in rural, like an island off Ireland. And he was very likable. And I thought his like change to the character was very substantial. And I just thought I enjoyed it. The other thing too, now I haven't seen Brendan Fraser's performance, but I would say the movies I've seen, for me, the best actor, there wasn't one that just like stood out so much to what I had seen. So for me, it's like Colin Farrell was like the best of the bunch, as opposed to this wasn't like an unbelievable performance. You know what I mean? Like it was kind of like, it wasn't the greatest year, I would say, for the best actor category. Whereas I think best actress, I think we're on the same page, but I'll go first. I haven't seen Tar. Kate Blanchett's a great actress. She very well could be nominated, or she is nominated, and she could very well win. So can't comment on that. But from what I've seen, I thought Michelle Yeoh's performance in Everything Everywhere All at Once was fantastic, and I'd be surprised if she didn't win Best Actress.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's my nomination. It's like Michelle Yeoh to win. I think, like, again, beautiful performance. You've seen it yourself, like the ups and downs, the intricacies of family life and everything she's portrayed. It was really well done. And you said the movie Blonde, Ana de Armas. I love Ana de Armas.
She ain't winning.
Huge celebrity crush, but you said she's not going to win, right? Like,
no,
she didn't portray it very well.
Well, I didn't see the movie. I can't comment on her performance, but I know the movie itself is not very highly thought of, and I don't think her performance was particularly either. But yeah, I mean, I guess we should just go on to the finale, and that is Best Picture. All right, so let's start by what movie you think should win. Then we'll say what you think will win. Who should win?
I think Everything Everywhere All at Once should win. That's my personal opinion. Like we were saying, we were bragging about this whole podcast already. Yeah, I think it should win. But again, knowing the Oscars, knowing the dramatic pull towards these movies, the tendency to lean more in the dramatic territory, I'd say All Quiet on the Western Front.
You
my
think will
win
win?
will win. Yeah, and it's only because, like you said, it was ranked second right now.
Mhm.
Um,
That's for like the betting odds.
for
Yeah.
the betting odds, and it was a very raw, gritty war movie, which I liked. But yeah, I'd say it's either one of those two. But my
Mhm.
personal favorite would be Everything Ever All at Once. Yeah.
All right.
What about you? What about you, Mitch? Is it
Yeah.
different?
So I have it a bit different. You had should win for Everything Everywhere All at Once. I
Mhm.
think Everywhere All at Once will win, and I
Okay.
think it would be a deserving winner. For me, again, I've talked about it multiple times. I had it for Best Actor. For me, my Best Picture, what I would choose would be The Banshees of Inisherin. I don't need to go over everything again.
Mhm.
I think part of it is a little bit to do with why maybe it wasn't quite up there for the favorites. Was a bit to do with some of that depth of the movie and some of the sort of the meaning behind it that people wouldn't. How would you know unless you like went out reading it or you're familiar with Ireland's history? And
Yeah.
that's understandable. You shouldn't have to do that to watch a movie, and you don't have to do that.
Mhm.
But I think that probably takes away for some people the significance of the movie and sort of the message and the tone of the movie and why it was so grim at times, because
Mhm.
that's what it was like in throughout much of the 20th century, but definitely like early to mid 20th century in Ireland because of the conflict. So I think I would pick Banshees of Inisherin personally, but I think Everything Everywhere All at Once will win and would be a
Mhm.
deserving winner. And
Yeah.
really, the Oscars is just a night to celebrate movies. We love our
Mhm.
movies, and it should be fun. We'll definitely have to see how it all shakes out, but we'll leave it there. Thanks for
Mhm.
watching once again. Check us out on our TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram at Podcast M&M. Save it for the podcast.
Save
That's
it.
perfect. What you're
I'll save
talking
that. I'll
about.
save
That is
that. Yeah.
absolutely perfect.